All right.
Cool.
Yes, this will be a shorter episode because, the time. I think we have 27 minutes, which is perfectly fine, actually. All right, folks, welcome back to episode 3 of And So She Spilled podcast. I am your host, Jasmine, and we're going to get straight on into it. This is going to be a shorter episode. Because I think that I've given you all 2 longer ones. I kind of want to see how y'all are feeling with the longer content versus the shorter content and seeing what y'all connect with more. If you want to hear me less, if you want to hear me more, I definitely want to get that feedback from you all. Of course, I'm going to still end up deciding what I decide, but if you all are not quite ready yet for the tangents and the rants and the things that I talk about for the time that I do in a longer form, that maybe in a shorter form, it's a bit more, I don't know why.
I was thinking maybe
I don't know why, I don't know why I'm staring at
the monitor.
Thank you. I'm going to start over, right?
Yeah,
Or should, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to start. You think it's fine? Or
No,
I should?
I think it's better.
Okay, yeah. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm staring at the monitor.
You can switch as well. I mean, I don't know.
Oh,
how much time you
yeah.
need to-
Yeah. No, I forget that I can look at this one as well. Okay. Yikes. We're good. Welcome to the And So She Spilled podcast, where things are about to be spilled all over the place. No, I don't mean spill like the tea and gossip, even though I can guarantee that I'm only human and that will more likely than not be spilled too, but that there is a lot being spilled onto us from things that are happening in the world politically, how we are told we are supposed to live in our social lives according to anybody with a mic, irony not missed on me, and just all things commentary, lifestyle, and existence. I am your host, Jasmine, and yes, this is a solo pod, but we are here in this together, just trying to make sense of it all. So, I spill, you spill, we all spill. Let's get into this episode. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another episode 3 actually of the And So She Spilled podcast. Little cheers with my empty cup if you're watching the YouTube version of this, because I have to appear as though it's a different day. Oh no, she broke the 4th wall and exposed how she filmed 3 episodes back to back, and this is not actually live time, every single week different. I know, y'all. We're not there yet, okay? And unless you want to pay my bills so that I can quit my job and do this every single day, which I would still not want to do. But if you want to do that, hit me up in my DMs and we can talk, create a contract and all that. But until then, yeah, it's once a week and it's batched because I do have a job that does have to pay my bills, which are expensive because the world is expensive. But I digress. I'm your host, Jasmine. Welcome back. If you are new to this podcast in general, go back to the first episode where I talk about where And So She Spilled comes from, because if you are here for gossip and, oh my God, she wore that shirt, oh my gosh, they're in that relationship, oh my God, yeah, it's not that kind of spill, and so you might want to go somewhere else, maybe People Magazine if you're still into that culture of design, but you can go back to the episode to see what I'm all about and what the purpose of all this is, but really, we're making a mess. We're spilling all over the place. A lot is happening in the world, a lot to have thoughts about, a lot to process and make sense of and to spill onto each other to keep the dialogue going. So by no means do you take the things that I say as facts. I want you all to think. I want you all to contribute. I want you all to participate, because that is what makes all of this make sense. That is what makes all of this resonate and last beyond our physical lifetimes, when we are able to impact and spill into each other and to create legacies of transformation, of community, and of discourse that reminds us of why we are here. So, without further ado, 10 things, which, I don't know if I got 10. I'm not going to lie. This was kind of hard to put together. But 10 things I've learned in my early 20s. In the past 3 days, maybe, I have been reminded that I'm old. Yeah. 26, basically 1 foot in the grave at this point. Maybe it's because I work with students who are 18 to 22, and being around them, I'm like, oh yeah, that was 18. Definitely don't think that way anymore. Or even 22, I'm like, golly, 22. Were we really doing that at 22? But very much so an age difference, and me being in a position of authority, I'm like, oh wow, okay, so getting older. Also, with going viral on Instagram, which I talked about in the last episode, you can check that out. Young people coming at me in the comments like, whose mom is this? I'm like, not a mom. Like, no. Look, I get it. A lot of my friends are mothers, which, wow, mothers. And like, they're the same age as me, which means that I'm at an age where if you said, hey, I'm pregnant, I'm at that acceptable age. It's not like, oh, it's like, okay, yeah, that's wild. So I'm getting up there in age. I am entering gracefully into my early 20s. So that's what we're going to say. It's early for me, maybe not for you, but 26 is a young and spry age, which it is. And I have no fear of getting older, I would like to add. And so my viewers and my listeners who are in their later ages of 30, 40, 50, and plus, what a privilege, first of all, it is to make it to 30, 40, 50, to you badass bitches. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's like curse word number 4 in the past 3 hours. I was starting off real PG-13 for no reason, because this is not a children's podcast. But y'all are some bad motherfuckers, okay? And I hope to age gracefully and to learn and to gain wisdom and to live in this life as much as I can while I have the time to. But I'm 26. And so if you're in America, which I can cue some really sad music, but I'm not going to, you know that by the age of 26, something really, really bad happens. Really, really sad, actually. I'm talking cataclysmic. I'm talking violence upon violence, soul crushing. It's when you're pushed off of your parents' insurance and you either have to have a job that provides you insurance, or if you take the more entrepreneurial contractor life, you pay for your own. And you also know that insurance is not cheap at all, because wow, why would we provide universal health care to citizens who build and keep this country going? I know. Wild concepts. Wild concepts. People have to pay to live. Pay to be healthy. But that is not this episode. I can lament about the structures of capitalism and the U.S. and just government in general, which, by the way, don't judge me based off of that comment. I'm not one of those anti-government. I'm anti this government. And not from a political perspective, not from a conservative, liberal, because foundationally, this structure was built on some wobbling pegs. And it's doing what it does. When something is built on a wobbling foundation, what does it do? It crumbles so dramatically too. And we're in our flop era. So whatever. But I digress. Wow, a tangent nonetheless. How did I fit that into a short episode? Because I have a talent. I've got a talent for that, I guess. But yeah, bones start to creak. Alcohol starts to hurt. Like, I remember being young and being able to, like, drink the sweet wines and being like, oh, yeah, like, I got this. I can wake up the next day and take a test, get up early, go to work. Used to work at Chipotle, make the bowls and burritos for people. Like, I could do it all. Yeah, now, I don't think that I experience hangovers, but I definitely experience a 3-day fog. 3 days of just being out of it and being like, you know what? That sounds like a next week question. And yes, you've asked me a very simple one of like, hey, Jasmine, what's your favorite color? Yeah, that's a next week question. And that's not for right now. So, because I'm going through it. It's weird how time really affects how your body processes things, and the same things that you would ha-ha at other people, it circles back and it ha-has right back at you. Kind of poetic. It's kind of poetic. I kind of like it, the allegory of it all. And also the fantasy of your 20s starts to wear off, because I think what is presented to young people, and the very fact that I just said young people, I want to like throw up at, because I am young. But when I delineate or separate myself to say, oh, young people, I get it. It makes me a little bit older. It makes me a little not on the pulse. Me viciously scrolling through TikTok to make sure that I'm still on the, the pulse of what young people, Gen Z, is doing as a millennial. Yeah, I'm not a millennial. I don't claim that. That truly is when you are older. But the fantasy of your 20s wears off, because what young people are taught is that your 20s is like where you become a true adult. Everything is going to be like epic and awesome, and you're just going to like go through the most interesting and radical experiences, start your life, maybe get married, have a kid. Life is just going to open up and make all this sense. And if you've been with me for the past episodes, you know that most of this stuff does not make a single inch of sense. And if you are somebody who's been in their 20s, you've had a hard awakening. You've realized that, oh, yeah, I don't really know what tomorrow is. I don't know what I'm doing. What are these feelings? What is happening? Everything is confusion. Am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right path? Is there a right path? Is this the job that I like? Do I keep these people in my life? Is she my friend? Is he my friend? What is this relationship? Do I need to identify? So many questions, right? And so we got bamboozled. We got bamboozled that life was going to make sense and that we would have all the answers and become these real world adults. But one thing that is true is that regardless of whether or not things make sense and the lies of what society has presented about us just becoming full adults, is our bodies still age. So age got us, but all of those development things are lies. So I thought it would be fun to do 10 things I've learned in my early 20s as somebody who is still in my 20s. And so I am still figuring things out. You should take everything that I say with a grain of salt. I am no professional. Is there a professional of being in your 20s? I don't think so, because then like you're like me, and there's no way that you've made this all make sense. There's no way. I don't believe it. There's no way that you have cracked the code of being in your 20s. Lies, and anyone who's doing it, they're just selling you a course to teach you how to sell a course. Anyway, I guess 10 reasons or 10 things, my bad, of things that I've learned in my early 20s. This is going to be fun. All right, number 1 is that this is your first time going through your 20s, and the first time you are legally responsible for yourself. And I should add an addendum, because I know that, again, never is anything universal or a blanket statement, right? So some people may have had to be more responsible for themselves and for other people earlier in life than others. But generally, when we think about our 20s, it's the first time that you are legally responsible for yourself, i.e. that you are paying taxes, that you are engaging in some type of contract for housing, that you have a job, that you're getting higher education, that you are having to make decisions about healthcare, making decisions about where you want to live in the world, all these different considerations, joining the military, yes, no, all of this stuff where you are now the maker of your life. Your parents legally cannot tell you that you cannot do something. And so you're like, whoa, the first decade, where the entire decade, I truly make the decisions. And so with that being said, you need to be kind to yourself and accept that there is no roadmap, that there is no correct way of doing this. And if you think that there is, there's not. And two, what is correct? What is a correct way of doing anything? Because everyone has different backgrounds of how they were raised and how they became knowledgeable about what is the correct way of becoming an adult and being a contributor to society. But also, B, this idea of correct is very much so based off of what your aspirations are. And if we understand aspirations, dreams, passions, and goals as related to lifestyle, i.e. the job that I have is the life that I will create, i.e. all I talk about is my work and my work is my life. If you talk to a lot of those people outside of work, they don't know who they are. And hello, I am trying not to be that person because I realize, if you ask me what are my passions, a lot of the time I would say work. And so, or not work, but I would go blank and be like, what else do I like to talk about and do? And we're all trying to create this correct, I guess, metric, but it doesn't exist. It's all situational. And so you really just have to create a life for yourself that fits what you like and what you feel comfortable with, and do not compare. Number 2, it's okay to be reckless. Live in the moment. You don't get the ability of your youth back. Again, an addendum. I understand ableism, disability, accommodations. This is not for a universal statement for all bodies work the same. All bodies are able to do things. But generally in your youth, I'm speaking generally, you have an agility that you do not have when you get older in life. And so it does allow for you to be a bit more reckless in the physical things that you do. And honestly, do them. Be so present in the moment where you don't have as many responsibilities. If you do have the plans of having children or starting a family or any of that, just going off on a whim and moving to Paris for 3 months might not be something that you can do. And I can't relate. So be reckless. Ask yourself, what really am I harming other than giving myself a chance to experience? And if you think that way, and you also think about the fact that you don't get your youth back, you will take living in the moment as such precious, precious gifts that they are. And it makes the messiness of your 20s to be not fun all the time, but at least to be these relics that you will be able to hold on to for years to come after. So be reckless. No one's going to judge you. Every single adult that you've met who is older now and looks like they have it together was reckless at some point. And reckless defined by them, they went and made decisions that were not the most, I guess, helpful or not the most advised, or they just went for it career-wise, or something that they did was reckless. And you should live in that abandon because it is something that I think sets the groundwork for everything else that you will do later in life. Number 3, doing things to fit in will have you selling all of your secrets and integrity to a room full of people who do not care about you. And I get it. We're not in high school anymore, right? We aren't following the cliques, even though I think as a society, there are still cliques that exist in adulthood, and making friends in your adulthood can be hard because you're like, they seem as though they are all friends. And how do I enter into a friend group? I promise you that acting a certain way in order to fit in with a group of people never goes well because, one, what are you acting on? You're acting on an idea of a person who is not you. Therefore, you're not being your authentic self, which means that even if you become friends with these people, they're not becoming friends with you. And you're going to constantly be thinking about how you can maintain that character, how you can continue to fool people into the person that you are not, just so that you can fit into who you think they are. And also think of it this way. If you're doing that, then you're not really getting to know them as individuals either. You are getting to know an idea of them that you perceived from the very beginning and constructed a whole false identity over in order to quote unquote engage and create friendships over. Which means that you're getting rid of a lot of your authenticity. And also to the moment where you're like, I do want to become authentic with these people. I do want to share myself. Oftentimes they don't know who that person is. And so when you start doing this, they don't care. Because why would they? Why would they care about someone or something that they thought that you were auditioning for the privilege of being in the same space as them? So don't do that. Be authentic. Yes, play the game, but understand that not all friendships are based in playing a game in order to fit in some role. Games are played in life for like work, for certain projects, certain, I would say, pragmatic things that you have to do. But when it comes to creating friendships, be very intentional about the person you are. Be very clear about who and what your boundaries are. And that's the biggest advice that I can give there. But just do not try to fit in. You will lose yourself. 4, quality over quantity. It kind of goes back to the idea of friends, because friendship, I think, is a big conversation for the end of time. But I think especially in your 20s, you're out of high school. Either you went to college or you didn't. So like the idea of making new friends is like difficult and hard. And you're also trying to figure out who you are now, because that is always changing, because who you were when you were 18 is not who you are when you're 21. It's not who you are when you're 23. And so you're also trying to figure out, who am I? What do I like? Why am I doing these things? And so meeting people on that journey, you're like, who they liked me when I was 18, but do they match me with where I am now at 23? But do I know who I'm at 23? It's this very confusing situation. And so when I say quality over quantity, I know when we see on Instagram and on social media with the different wedding content or like girls trip content or friend trip content, where it's like 20 people in a room, you're like, oh, big friend groups. And then the people who comment that, oh, if you don't have multiple friends, then you're toxic. Then you don't know how to keep people in your life. Then you're the problem. Maybe this is a controversial opinion. But no, I don't think that if you don't have gal friends, or if you do not have a large group of friends around you, that you are necessarily the problem. Oops, I just don't think there's a warrant for that, other than somebody on social media said it, and then several other people put on their fake PhDs and fake, licenses for therapy, and we're like, yeah, if you don't have a lot of friends, you're the narcissist and you're the problem. Look at the speaker, yo. If they have a mic, if they're filming from their car, I don't know. The car wasn't as relevant, but that is just a social media talking point that trends, talking about friend groups. So if you were not in one, it doesn't speak to you as a problem necessarily. Maybe you have work to do in order to know the friend group that you want to attract in order to have sustainable, long-lasting friendships. But also understand that change is imminent, and not all the time your long-lasting friends will come with you. And don't be pressured into needing to have these large friend groups, because that just more is built from an insecurity of needing to have many people around you to feel whole, where you should feel that by yourself. Your people will come. Go out there. I could talk, but that's a whole other episode. And maybe I'll talk about that later on, about how to like make friends as an adult. I've been semi-successful at it. Definitely a work in progress. But don't be pressured or think that there's something wrong with you if you are not. Number 5, and not to get morbid, but like it's true that death is real. Like so real. Like, yikes. That's a thing. Like, heard about it in books and stories. But you begin to lose people. And so I don't want your youth to be a delusion to the fact that death is real. We think, oh, I'm going to live forever. I'm young. I'm 20. I'm living my best life. Nothing could ever happen to me. I'm YOLO all the time. I'm not going to, care about how my actions affect other people because it's my time. It's my goal. It's my life. They don't understand. They don't get it. They weren't young before. Yeah, they were. They were. Your mother was young before. Your fathers were young. Your aunts, your uncle. Everybody was young before. They were all young. And so they sat where you sat. And not everyone is here forever. You're not here forever. And I think that if you accept that as a fact, like a pure ontology, a true, intrinsic kind of metric for life, that you are not here forever. And I think you appreciate your youth a little bit more. And it puts in perspective what it means to live in the moment. What does it mean to love? What does it mean to engage in intimate relationships with friends and family? Because you know that you don't own a person. You don't own your family. You don't own your friends. You don't own their body. You don't own their existence. One day they will be gone. One day you will be gone. So how do you create memories that last forever, that you can think back on, that you can be happy and at peace and at rest with? That should be something that you keep in mind so that you don't look back and go, wow, I really passed by on people without thinking about them a second time because I was young and in the moment for this time. And then I turned 40 and I'm like, whoa, wow, they're not here anymore. Or whoa, wow, I missed out on really getting to know a person. 6, 1 minute. Yikes. Number 6, and maybe we pretend like I actually did 10, but go where you grow. Go around people who challenge you to be better, who challenge you to go to your next stage in life, and not where you're comfortable all the time. Of course, you want people who you feel comfortable and don't feel triggered by, but you want to feel safe. You want to feel as though you are in a space where it's okay to grow, it's okay to challenge, it's okay to do things that are not expected of you. And if you do that, I think that you only develop more long-lasting friendships. And yes, I labeled this as 10 things that I learned in my early 20s. I'll keep it at 7. So this is the last one because time is real and I'm living in the moment. So if I'm living in the moment, that means that I don't live in time in theory. So the theory was 10, the real is 7. Okay. Don't keep up with the Joneses. It will just lead to wasted goods and debt that you can't pay. And this is not me saying don't buy nice things, don't get the things or whatnot. But I think that people are living on trends and their money is also a trend downward. And so make sure that you truly like what it is that you're buying, not because somebody else has it, not because somebody else is buying it and you feel because you're seeing it so much, because that's a tactic, right? We know that's the marketing tactic. When you see something shown several times, you're like, I don't want it, but I'm seeing it 10 times. So now it's in my mind. So now I kind of do want it because all I can do is think about it. Don't be a marketing ploy. Okay, make sure that you enjoy the thing. It'll last longer. It'll mean more to you. And it's okay if it doesn't mean anything to you, but you don't want to be surrounded in clutter and just stuff because we conflate happiness and success with things that we get. Not true. You can have all those things. You can go on all the fancy vacations and feel nothing. And so make sure that you're doing things authentically and because you truly have a desire for it. If it means that you have to sit back and think and reflect, why am I buying this? Why am I doing that? It's okay to do that. Not everything has to be jump off the deep end and find out, buy the thing and then realize if that's the thing for you. No, sometimes you can sit back and reflect. So, like I said, this is 10 minus 3 things that I have learned in my early 20s as somebody who is still in their 20s. And I hope that some of this resonated with some of you all. Definitely, I think there will be another part to this because it was cut short because of time. But I do think the biggest message is your 20s are messy. They're confusing. You're figuring things out. And it's okay to not have everything together, but to understand that you have an opportunity to live a very messy, in a good way, type of life. But that is the final episode. Not the final. Whoa. No, we're not done. We're not done. There will be more episodes. But that is the end of this episode of the And So She Spilled podcast. Thank you all so much for these past 3 episodes. I look forward to more. And I think that's it. Bye. Okay. Alrighty. All right.
You did it.
Oh. Oh my goodness! Yay!
Yeah, 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
It's more than 5. So.
Hey, it is. It's more than 5. I think you're like, yeah. I said 10 minus 3.
I mean, you can overrun 30 minutes